I think it's interesting these days to think about what it means to grow up because it's different now than it used to be. From I wasn't alive, but from what I understand, it used to be that you would have a particular path that was laid out for you. You would go from living under your parents' roof, going to school, whatever, and then you would get married to someone, have kids, have your career, and you do that career for however long, raise your children, and then you'd retire. Now it's not as clear at all. We have so many different options. I mean, basically, we have infinite options. And so we can sort of do whatever we want for as long as we want to do it. There's no real consequences of it that are imposed by other people. We can have kids later, we can do, a lot of different things. And there's a lot of different options for people with online dating, and there's a lot of different options for career. There's so many things now that you can do for work that didn't even exist 10 years ago. So I think the problem with this is that it's basically hard to commit to anything because there are so many different options. We have this illusion that something could be perfect, right? You could find a person or you could find a career path that's perfect. And so because that we can think that, we don't really have to commit to anything because it seems like we shouldn't commit to something until it's perfect. So for me, I think that in the new generation, in my generation, growing up actually means committing to something that's imperfect because it's the next guess as to what's right for you. Instead of being forced into a particular role, a particular way of being, and instead of just infinitely going from thing to thing to thing to thing because we can find the slightest issue with it and there's something else around the corner, instead, we commit to something because it's the thing that we most know as the next step because it brings us somewhere, right? There's some movement. Because what happens is when we don't commit to something, anything, we end up in this really circular thing where we just basically try something out, find a problem with it, leave. Try something else out, find a problem with it, leave. Try something else out, find a problem with it, leave. And we don't get any traction in our lives and we don't move forward at all. For me, this happened when my wife was pregnant with our son. I had been coaching for off and on for about 4 or 5 years, and I had never really committed to it. I didn't, there were just some small issues with it. And so I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do this. I could do something else. There's probably something out that's better for me that uses these skills. It's not perfect. But then when my wife was pregnant, I just thought, okay, I'm about to be a father. I'm about to grow up in the biggest way that you can probably grow up, which is being someone else's parent. And I said, okay, well, I don't really have a choice anymore. I have to commit to coaching because it's the thing that I knew how to do the best and that I was the most qualified to do and where I could make the most money. And so I was forced sort of into this different set of values where I thought, okay, now I need to take care of someone else beside myself. And I wasn't allowed to just keep, switching from thing to thing to thing to thing anymore because I had these other responsibilities and requirements. So I think in my case, because of the decision to be a parent, I was forced into the situation where I had to pick a next best guess for the sake of doing something that maybe isn't perfect now, but leads me down the right path. But I think this is possible at any time, and I think this is the rite of passage for our generation. This is growing up for our generation, where basically we say, it's not about settling, right? I'm not going to settle, but I'm going to pick something that seems like it's my next best guess on the path and commit to it and know that nothing is going to be perfect. Nothing is going to be the fantasy that we wish that it was, where there's never any issues that happen with it, where there's never any discomfort, where there's never any disappointment. It's the understanding that there's always going to be discomfort, disappointment, hardship, not fun situations, etc., and committing to that next thing anyway, whether that's a person or whether that's a career. Because from there, you can work through the discomfort and the hardship in this thing that you've committed to and continue to walk down the path. And if then when you've really committed to it, you're like, you know what, this just doesn't work, then you can actually move on having made progress and not having turned away and run away at the exact same juncture every time. So growing up is crossing that juncture where things get hard and you would normally turn the other direction in search of something that isn't hard, and instead knowing that everything is hard and moving through that and seeing what's available for you on the other side. For me, now I'm very rewarded by my career coaching, and I really love it because I got over the initial hump of just like letting it be that these small complaints were such a valid reason that I wouldn't do it. And I'm so glad that I did. And now coaching just keeps getting more and more rewarding, and it will become a platform to whatever I want to do next. So I wanted to share this insight with you. I really think it's valuable to just think about like, what is my next best guess? What can I commit to that I think is the best thing for me, the thing that I love the most, even though it has hardships and challenges, with the knowledge that that's never going to change and that that's going to be present in anything I do. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. If you want to continue this conversation, you can always find me on Facebook. Aaron FS Education is my name on there, and it's my page is just Aaron FS. So let me know in the comments anything you got out of this, any places where you struggle to commit, any places where you have committed and it's been successful, and I look forward to talking to you.